Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the MUN Orion Blue Limited Edition. This watch is available from moonwatches.com for 1,440 Swiss francs, which is €1,546 respectively. MUN are a microbrand based in Paris and their watches are Swiss made. The Orion is available in a plethora of colour options. Of the colour options, I think this Orion Blue Limited Edition is the best looking. The limited edition versions of the Orion are 200 numbered pieces. This one is number 172 of 200, and the Orion Blue Limited Edition is inspired by the NASA colours and also inspired by the NASA Artemis program. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a cardboard watch box, which is in the style of a book, and the book style watch box is housed in shipping inside this fabric bag. So black fabric bag, and it's branded with the MUN text logo. It's a drawstring fabric bag, so it does a good job protecting the watch box in shipping from any damage. This is the watch box itself. So book style watch box housed inside a cardboard sleeve, rather like a book, and on the front we have the MUN text logo. On the spine we have Orion, the model number, and on the reverse we have the MUN watches brand emblem. So one withdraws the book style box from the cardboard sleeve. And as you can see, very aesthetically pleasing, Artemis Orion Series MUN Projects 2025 edition. And on the reverse we have a quote from Jim Lovell from the Apollo 13 mission. So very nice presentation. One opens the book style box, and inside we have a pocket which houses the items I'll show you, and in the base there's a cutout which is fully upholstered to a good standard with black velour fabric. Inside the cutout we have a padded pillow cushion which is black velour fabric upholstered, and it's a good snug fit inside the cutout. So good presentation, does a good job of protecting the watch in shipping, and I like it. I think they deserve credit for coming up with an original design of watch box in this book style, rather than just using the less expensive default option of a plastic or cardboard watch box. This is very nice presentation. With regards to the items that come with the piece, this is the owner's instruction manual, which they call the user guide, and one scans the QR code with one's Android or iPhone. That will download the owner's instruction manual with clear, concise diagrams, instructions in English, detailing the operation of the movement used, which is the Sellita caliber SW288-1M manual wind mechanical movement. On the reverse, it has the certificate of authenticity, and it's filled in with a serial number, which is 172 of 200, because this is a limited edition of 200 pieces, number 172. Date of issuance, which is the date of purchase, and the authenticity, it's stamped with MUN Watches authenticity. So the watch is covered by a 2-year international warranty, and I want to give due credit to MUN Watches here, because often mid-tier pieces, and to clarify, mid-tier is €500 to €5,000 price point, often mid-tier microbrands only cover their watches with a 12-month international warranty. To get 2 years of international warranty at this price point of €1,546 is excellent, and they deserve credit for that. One also gets this specific instructions for reading the moon phase. So this piece, the Orion Limited Edition, features a moon phase complication, and around the moon phase complication there is a scale which runs at 29.5 days. So this details specifically how to set the 29.5 day cycle of the moon phase, and it's very good because it explains it in a very easy way with a clear, concise diagram and the instructions in English. And on the reverse it details specific instructions on how to set the time and also the date complication. So this piece features a date complication and also 29.5 day moon complication. So clear, concise diagrams, instructions in English, and it details the crown positions for setting the moon phase, the date complication, and also setting the time. So this is very clear and concise because you've got the alternative. You can scan the owner's instruction manual with your Android or iPhone, the QR code, or you can simply follow the crown positions and the diagram, reading through the instructions in text, and on the reverse we've got specific instructions on the moon phase. This is very well thought through if you're unfamiliar with moon phase complications. And lastly, one also gets this cautions and guidelines handling and storing details. So this details the terms and conditions of the 2-year international warranty, and also details how to maintain the accuracy of the movement. Every 4 to 5 years it recommends servicing it, and on the reverse we've got the specific terms and conditions of the 2-year international warranty. So very good information, clear and concise, very well thought through. They deserve credit for that. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 38mm case diameter, we have a 46mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 11.5mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The genuine leather strap is navy tone with red contrasting stitching as per the NASA colours, which is inspired by, and it tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the buckle and tang. Solid 316L grade stainless steel buckle and tang, angular profile, nice mirror polished bevels, which are machined on the edge, which delete the sharp edges to the buckle. Nice heavy gauge to it, brushed satin finishing to the top, underside and flanks, and nice vertical brushed satin finishing, which is done to a very good standard, and it's engraved with high definition engraving, signed with the MUN Watches emblem, as you can see. So I like the angular profile to it, and also like the finishing to it, because the large mirror polished bevels are done to a very good standard. We have a double dome sapphire crystal with clear AL coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished applied indices and silver mirror polished dolphin handset. So the indices and the dolphin hands are fully lumed with BGW9 Super Lume Nova to a good standard. The dial is textured and it also has a 3D stepped effect to it, which adds interest rather than just being a flat dial. There's a cutout at 12 o'clock for the moon phase complication, so we have two fully loomed BGW9 moons, and the detail on the moons is very good. It's very high definition, and also we've got the Orion stars on the dial as well, which adds interest. So they've mapped the Orion stars as well as the moons on the dial for the 29.5 day moon complication. At 6 o'clock we also have a date complication, which has a white circle around it. Legibility is excellent. Quality of the printing to the dial, which is stepped and 3D effect, is excellent. Sharp minute ticks, they're high definition and crisp. The quality of the printing of the Arabic numerals for the 29.5 day moon phase complication are also sharp and crisp. The font isn't too thick and blurry. And either side of the 6 o'clock index we have Swiss made, because moon watches such as this Orion Blue Limited Edition are made in Switzerland using Swiss made Sellita calibers such as the SW288-1M manual wind mechanical movement. I like the navy blue dial colour, and also like the moon phase complication, which is fully loomed because it contrasts very well. Contrasting white second hand has a red tip, and I like the red tip of the arrowhead tip because it also adds interest to the handset. But also we've got red hour markers at 12, 9 and 3, so it's a very well thought through design. Legibility is good, clarity is good, the functionality is good. Easy to read the 29.5 day moon complication, easy to read the date complication. The single and the double Arabic numerals on the navy blue date wheel are correctly proportioned, and the alignment is correct. They're not too high or too low or too far to the left or the right of the white circle. I like the symmetry of the dial. Rather than being an asymmetrical dial, I like that it has perfect symmetry by having the date complication at the 6 o'clock position rather than the default 3 o'clock position. So I like the red hour markers at 12, 9 and 3, and also like the applied indices. The symmetry of the dial is very good, legibility is good, and also the moon phase complication is correctly proportioned. It doesn't look too large. It fits very well in the centre circle of the dial. Dolphin hands are very well proportions, and also the length is correct because the tip of the dolphin minute hand extends nearly to the white minute ticks on the chapter ring, and the dolphin hour hand extends nearly to the applied indices. So the handset looks correctly proportioned both in width and also length. Also the length of the white contrasting arrowhead second hand is long enough to extend all the way to the minute ticks on the chapter ring. So good handsets. I like the mirror polishing. The hands are clearly diamond cuts and then plated and mirror polished to a flawless standard, so very well executed, very well finished dolphin hands, and it's good to see they've applied Lume, which improves the legibility. You can read the time in the dark, which is good for a daily wear piece. Case is solid 316L grade stainless steel. Flawless brushed satin finishing, which is longitudinal brushed satin finishing on the flanks, and that complements the longitudinal brushed satin finishing to the tops of the curved lugs. Nice large mirror polished bevels, which mark the transition between the top of the curved lugs and the flanks. Bezel is solid 316L grade stainless steel, flat profile to the brushed satin finishing rather than a domed bezel, and the edge of the bezel is mirror polished to a flawless standard, which adds interest to it. It's a relatively low profile bezel, and it allows the double dome sapphire crystal to project above it with a bevel on the edge of the crystal. I like the way the bevel of the sapphire crystal catches the light. Very low dome to the double dome sapphire crystal, it almost looks flat, and the benefit of it being a very low dome rather than a top hat boxed top double dome sapphire crystal is that it doesn't add 2mm of thickness. It's very low profile. This piece is only 11.5mm as a result, which is very impressive because it does have an exhibition caseback which does add some thickness and provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters, which is strong specification for a daily wear piece. So very thin piece, 11.5, and that's the benefit of this being a manual wind piece versus an automatic powered by the SW288-1M. So very aesthetically pleasing, AR coating works well, and I like the low dome of the sapphire crystal. Let's look at the crown in detail. Solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, coin edge finished. Nice large chamfer which deletes the tips of the coin edge teeth, and it's engraved with high definition engraving with the MUN watch's emblem to a good standard, so quality of the finishing is good. Proportions are also good. It's large enough to be grippy and tactile. You can get good purchase with your index finger and thumb. Doesn't stick too far proud of the right hand flank, so therefore when you flex the wrist, the crown doesn't dig into the back of the hand, so proportions are correct. Large enough to get a grip of, but not too large to dig into the back of the hand when you flex the wrist. So push-pull crown, and therefore in the closed position one can manually wind the Sellita caliber SW288-1M to its maximum 41-hour power reserve. Feels smooth to manually wind, doesn't feel rough or gritty. In terms of how it feels exactly the same as manually winding a Sellita caliber SW200-1 automatic, which you'll all be familiar with, and that's because the Caliber SW288-1M is based upon the architecture of the SW200-1 automatic. The difference is Sellita delete the rotor from the SW200-1 to make it manual wind. They also add a date complication at 12 o'clock, and therefore it becomes the SW288, but the architecture is the same as the SW200-1, just without the rotor and with a moon phase complication added, and it retains the date complication at 6 as per the SW200-1, which it's based upon. So in terms of manual winding, no discernible difference. It feels exactly the same as manually winding an SW200-1. Feels smooth. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up to its maximum 41-hour power reserve, which is perfectly acceptable. So pulling it out to the first click position is the date complication. Just bear with me and I'll do it. So when you rotate the crown clockwise, if you look at the date complication at 6, you can see it clicks over with a nice positive click. Again, feels exactly the same as setting the date on an SW200-1, no discernible difference. Nice positive click. Feels lighter than setting the date on an NH35A, which you'll all be familiar with. That has a heavier feeling to it, but it does have a nice solid click. Feels exactly the same as the date complication on an ETA 2824-2 or a Soprod caliber P024, alternatively the SW200-1. Now one detail I like is on the 31st of the month the Arabic numerals for the doubles are in red, but the other days of the month both the singles and the doubles are in white. So it adds interest to the date complication to have the red Arabic numerals on the 31st, but all the others are white. The white Arabic numerals contrast very well with the navy blue dates wheel. So proportions of the Arabic numerals are correct, and as I've detailed, the alignment is correct. They're not too far to the left or the right, or too high or too low in the white circle. So just bear with me, I'll move the minute Dolphin hand out of the way and you'll see it better. So cycles through the 31 days and very smooth, doesn't feel rough, and I like the clicking, nice positive clicking, so pleasant to set the date. Just bear with me, I'm going to cycle through to the 31st again because I want you to see the double red Arabic numerals. This adds interest. I like the double red Arabic numerals for 31st of the month. It's interesting. So when we're in the date complication setting position, when you rotate the crown anti-clockwise, it also cycles the moon phase complication. So if you look at the 12 o'clock position on the dial, there are two fully loomed moons, and they cycle through on a 29.5 moon phase complication. And the detail on the two loomed moons is very high definition. It's fantastic, and also behind the moons we've also got the Orion stars mapped out as well, which adds interest to the dial. Quality of the printing of the Orion stars and quality of the printing of the moons, the two moons of the moon phase complication, is stellar. High definition and crisp, nice 3D effect. They're not flat, they've actually got a 3D effect. And BGW9, which we'll test in the Lume test, very aesthetically pleasing. And they've done a very good job of the printing of the 29.5 day scale around the circle, or around the moon complication, because the Arabic numerals are legible, but they're not too large, and the font is very sharp, it's very crisp, and the quality of the printing on the moons is excellent. It's stellar. So it takes some time to cycle through. You can see the two moons coming up and going away, and the cutout is correctly proportioned for the two moons. I like that they haven't made the moons too large. Often with moon phase pieces with 29.5 day cycles, microbands have a tendency to enlarge the moons. They make the moons too large for the size of the dial, and this is a 38mm piece, so it doesn't look correct when you have very large moons on the dial. These moons are small enough, they're clearly legible, but the point is they fit the proportions of the dial. So the moon complication doesn't look oversized, that's the point. The two moons look the right size, the right diameter. Quality of the printing of the stars is excellent, and it just adds interest to the dial. So very aesthetically pleasing. So in the date complication position, when you rotate the crown clockwise, that advances the date. When you rotate the crown anti-clockwise, as I'm doing, that cycles through the 29.5 days. So you can follow the instructions on the card included, and you can set the moon phase exactly to the actual moon phase, and it will rotate through 29.5 days. Pulling it out to the second click position hacks the movement. If you look at the contrasting white arrowhead second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead. So therefore it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with a caliber SW288-1M. So we're now in the time setting position. Feels smooth. Medium resistance to the gearing. There's no discernible difference between setting the time on an SW200-1 and this SW288-1M because the architecture is the same. The only difference is the lack of the rotor, because it's not an automatic, and also they've added the moon phase complication, but the rest of the movements is the same. So it feels smooth, clockwise and anti-clockwise, minimal amount of backplay. When you rotate the coin edge crown clockwise and anti-clockwise, you don't have to take up a lot of slack. The Dolphin minute hand almost immediately responds. Feels exactly the same as an SW200-1. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. You can see the contrasting white arrowhead second hand begins to sweep around the dial at the characteristic smooth 4 Hz sweep. So, hand winding works well, feels smooth. Hacking works well. Date complication clicks over with a nice positive click. Moon phase complication cycles through the 29.5 day cycle smoothly. It's very pleasant to use as per the SW200-1, which it's based upon. So let's look at the strap in detail. Calf leather strap, navy blue tone, contrasting red stitching as per the NASA colours, which this piece is inspired by. It's a padded strap, so it's thicker at the spring bar end where it needs to be more reinforced, because that's an area that straps are prone to being splitting and cracking because of daily wear and tear. Does feel soft and supple. Feels rather like the feeling of a Horween shell cordvan strap in terms of quality, in terms of how supple it is. So although it's a thick padded strap, it's not going to require breaking in. Plenty of holes in it, so this will fit from a 6 to a 7.5 inch wrist size. Two keepers, first one's fixed, second one slides as one would expect. Correctly proportioned keepers, correctly proportioned solid 316L grade stainless steel buckle and tang. So I like it. I like the contrasting red stitching, and it complements the red hour markers at 12, 9 and 3, and also the red text on the dial, which is Orion, and also the 31st of the month, which is in red Arabic numerals. So I like the red accents because they complement each other. The red stitching is nice detail to it. Nice grain finish, and I like it's matte rather than being glossy as per a dress piece. And the grain finish of the leather is very aesthetically pleasing. And of the colour options of the Orion, this blue limited edition is my favourite. I think it's the best looking, and I like the navy blue tone, the red accents, and also the navy blue strap with the red stitching. So I'll show you the underside to it, and then we'll look at the case back. So the underside of the genuine calf leather strap has grey coloured liners, as you can see, with contrasting grey stitching around the perimeter. So very well done. And on the other side it's signed with the MUN text logo. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it. Correct decision, we've got quick release stainless steel spring bars rather than standard spring bars, and that negates the need for a spring bar tool, which is good because often with these thick padded leather straps, they're very stiff at the spring bar end, and it's difficult to compress the strap and compress the spring bar with standard stainless steel spring bars. But by having quick release spring bars, it makes it easier to change the strap if you want to exchange it for an alternative. The underside to the head of the piece is finished to perfection. Concentric CNC lathe tool machining, nice large bevels on the tips of the corners of the lugs, and that deletes the sharp corners, so it's very well finished. Nice large chamfers on the edges of the case, on the undercuts, and that deletes the sharp edges to the undercuts. So case finishing is stellar. Screwed down exhibition case back with 4 flat head screws. which is good. Very low profile. This is the benefit of this being manual wind, mechanical movement powered versus an automatic. Had they used the automatic version of the SW288-1, either the 1A or the 1B respectively, that would have added thickness to the caliber and also thickness to the caseback, because the caseback would need to be a bubble back caseback as per the SW200-1 style casebacks, because it would need to provide adequate clearance for a rotor. So, benefit of this being the SW288-1M, the M in the reference denotes manual wind, is that it's low profile. You can see how flat it is. So this piece is only 11.5 millimeters thick. Had they used the SW200-1, this would be 13 millimeters. So you can see the benefits, 11.5 versus 13. This is clearly lower profile. Nice flat exhibition caseback. 100 meters is strong specification. Strictly speaking, this only needs 50 meters because it's a daily wear piece, not a dive piece, but however 100 is strong specification and it's very good. Very low profile. So, sapphire crystal glazing, which is good. They could have used the production cost-cutting measure of mineral crystal in order to maximise profit margin per piece. Sapphire crystal glazing in the front, sapphire crystal glazing in the back is good. No cost-cutting whatsoever. Concentric CNC lathe tool machining to the stainless steel portion is excellent. I like the stepped profile to it, and the step of the case back, the stainless steel portion, has a mirror polished bevel to it, or sorry, chamfer, and that's finished to perfection. No sharp edges to it whatsoever. The engraving of the specification and also the serial number, which is the number of the limited edition series, number 172 of 200, is high definition and crisp. So the font is nice and sharp, legibility is good. The engraving is sharp in terms of definition, but doesn't feel rough, so it doesn't feel scratchy against the wrist. It's very good. And the sapphire crystal glazing does an excellent job of displaying the movement, as you can see, 18 joules, and the bridge to the movement is decorated with a grid formation. So it does give it a sci-fi or futuristic look, and of course the aesthetic of a space watch. So it's very nicely decorated with a grid textured laser etching, as you can see. So very nice to look at the movement, and they've made the correct decision by using an exhibition caseback to show off the decoration versus a solid stainless steel caseback, which of course would have added some thickness. So nice to see decoration rather than just the standard default finishing of the SW288-1M. So let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. So this uses BGW9 Superluminova on the two moons on the moon phase complication, the applied indices and the Dolphin handset. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. So we've clearly got 5 to 6 layers on the applied indices, 5 to 6 layers on the Dolphin hands, and 5 to 6 layers on the two moons on the moon phase complication. So I'm just going to cycle through the date complication. Just bear with me, I'll pull it out to the first click. So rotating anti-clockwise, we'll cycle through the moon phase complication through the 29.5 days, because I want to check the performance of the BGW9 on both of the moons, not just the visible one. So just bear with me, it's going to take some time to cycle through the 29.5 days. It's now cycling through. There we are, the second moon's coming back up. So I'm just going to charge it again to its maximum to get the camera to autofocus on it. Right, that's now fully charged. So you can see they've also loomed the Orion stars. They've mapped out the Orion stars in the background with BGW9, but also the second moon is also textured. It's 3D effect. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it. So you can see both of the moons in the moon phase complication are fully loomed with 5 to 6 layers of BGW9. Excellent. I just wanted to cycle through both moons to check both of the performance. So you can see applied indices are fully loomed with 5 to 6 layers, which is good. Now, subjectively, one could be critical and say, well, the indices are absent at the 12, 9 and 3 position. I would prefer if they used applied indices at 12, 9 and 3, because you can see they've deleted them and they've added red printed indices to complement the red tip of the arrowhead second hand, and also the red accents used on the red stitching on the strap, and of course we've got red text on the dial. Orion and the 31st of the month is in red Arabic numerals. So I get the point. They've added the red accents for the 12, 9 and 3 indices to give it continuity of design, but subjectively one could be critical because we can see the negative. There's an absent BGW9 applied index at the 12, 9, 6 and 3. I'd prefer the symmetry rather than having these red indices at 12, 9 and 3 if they had the applied indices in the full proportions of the other applied indices. But in daylight, the white tone of the BGW9 matches. It doesn't look more cream or white on the indices or the dolphin hands. It's the same white on the dial and also on the hands, which is good. Also, the moon phase complication, the two moons look white in daylight, which is good. They don't look more cream or white. In the dark, you can see there's a perfect colour tone match because the BGW9 has the same blue tone on the applied indices, the moon phase complication and also the dolphin hands. Now, one has to be magnanimous because dolphin hands are slender. They're not as wide as Mercedes hands or snowflake hands used on dive pieces, and of course therefore they don't allow for a large area or a large plot of BGW9 to be applied. But nonetheless, moon watches deserve credit because they have applied 5 to 6 layers on the indices, 5 to 6 on the two moons on the moon phase complication, and 5 to 6 layers on the handset. It's good. Potency to the exciter is good, it's glowing brightly, and for a daily wear piece this is excellent performance. Right, so let's discuss the movement use because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. So as I've detailed, this is powered by the Sellita calibre SW288-1M. So to explain, as I've detailed, the SW288-1M is based upon the architecture of the SW200-1, which you will all be familiar with. The differences in the movements is what Sellita do is they take an SW200-1 and they remove the rotor. They delete the rotor for automatic winding. It then becomes a manual wind version of the SW200-1. The other thing they do is they modify the SW200-1 by adding a date complication. So it still has the same date wheel for the date complication. The date complication is at 6, but then they add the disc or the wheel for the moon complication, and this one has 29.5 day cycle with the two moons as I've shown you. So really what we're looking at is an SW200-1 with the rotor deleted and the moon phase complication added to it. The architecture is exactly the same other than that. The SW200-1 is the same as the architecture of the SW288-1M. There is an automatic version of the SW288-1. They produce two versions, the 1A and the 1B. The difference is as follows. The SW288-1A has the moon complication at the 12 o'clock position and the date complication at 6. The SW288-1B has the moon phase complication at 6 and the date complication at 12, so it's inverted. This one is the manual wind version, so the reference is SW288-1M. M denotes manual wind. So what we have here is the manual wind version of the 1A and the 1B, which are the automatics. That's the thing to note. Now, subjectively one could be critical and say, well, why didn't Moon watches use the automatic version? Why didn't they use the SW288-1A? It still would have had the moon phase complication at 12, still would have had the date complication at 6. The dial would have looked the same, but one would have had the benefit of the automatic winding with the rotor. The reason why is because of thickness. Had they used the automatic version of the SW288-1A, that would have added thickness because the rotor would have needed clearance between the exhibition caseback sapphire crystal and the rotor to prevent the rotor fouling it, and that would have meant a bubble back caseback. This piece would have been 13mm thick as a result, but they've reduced the thickness by 1.5mm by using the manual wind version versus the automatic version of the SW288-1. I think they've made the correct decision because it improves the comfort level and the feel good factor. This still has a double dome sapphire crystal, although it's a very low dome, it almost looks flat, but it's only 11.5. With a double dome sapphire crystal versus a flat sapphire crystal and with an exhibition case back on 100 meters, one would expect this to be 13 thick. It's 11.5. That is very low profile. It's something I want to give due credit to Moon watches here for because often moon phase complication pieces, the movements are thick. And they're often powered, for example, by the SW288-1A or 1B with a rotor, and of course they are therefore 13mm thick, especially if they use a double dome sapphire crystal, an exhibition caseback, or a boxed top hat style crystal which adds 2mm of thickness. 13 plus. That's the negative of moon phase pieces. Often they're very thick due to the calibre being thick and needing extra clearance around the rotor. But Moon watches have made the correct decision because this is the manual wind version, which is thinner. And even though this has a double dome sapphire crystal and an exhibition caseback and 100 meters, it's still only 11.5. So I'll do wrist shots and you can see the benefits of it, and I've left this till last because I want you to see this is my favourite aspect of the piece, and this is why it justifies the price points. Just bear with me and I'll do it up. Now this is a tight strap on my 8-inch wrist, but I can just engage it on the final hole. So 6-inch minimum up to maximum 7-inch. Now as you can see, it's clearly too short by 1 inch for my 8-inch wrist. The strap would need to be 1 inch longer to engage the end of the strap in the two keepers, the first fixed keeper and the second sliding keeper. So 6-inch is the minimum, 7 inches is the maximum. If you have a 7.5 or 8-inch wrist, you're going to need an alternative strap. But I'm not going to be critical of it because for the majority of collectors, a 6 to 7-inch strap is long enough. And as you can see, it's a 38mm, so clearly this is intended for collectors with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches. It does have enough wrist presence to satisfy if you have a 7 to 8-inch wrist, but I think you would particularly appreciate the proportions if you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist, because it's got a compact lug-to-lug of 46. Now you'll know from my previous reviews, 48mm is the sweet spot, and a 46 is 2mm below the sweet spot. So one could say for a 7 to 8-inch wrist, the lug-to-lug is slightly too compact, but the benefit is minimal gap beneath the tips of the lugs, nice curved profile to the undercuts to the flanks, nice curved profile to the tops of the lugs. So it's a compact case, but very aesthetically pleasing. The benefit is the flat exhibition case back, as you can see. It's only 11.5mm thick, even with a double dome sapphire crystal. Very low profile piece. You'll know from my previous reviews, 13mm and below is the sweet spot, so needless to say at 11.5 this is well below the 13. This will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff, so practical daily wear piece which could also be worn as a dress piece. 38 gives wrist presence. The thing I like about it is low profile but also the lack of heft. This is only 69 grams, which is very impressive for a moon phase complication and date complication piece. Normally I would expect a 38mm on a leather strap like this to be circa 90 grams. 69 really does lack heft, and again that's the benefit of this being manual wind versus automatic. It is slightly lighter. So lightweight piece at only 69 grams and low profile piece at only 11.5. I'd prefer the lug-to-lug to be 48 because that would better suit collectors with a larger wrist. 46 is compact. 20mm is the correct lug width. It does look right for a 38 piece, and also the taper on the strap is good. It's not too aggressive. It's wider at the spring bar end and gradually tapers down to the buckle and tang. Comfort level is 10 out of 10. Feel good factor is 10 out of 10. Legibility is good. AR coating works well. Moon phase complication is clearly legible. 29.5 day scale around the moon phase is easy to read, and also the legibility of the applied indices and the mirror polished dolphin hands are legible. White contrasting second hand also has excellent legibility. The 3D textured dial is very well made, and also legibility is good. I like the 3D profiling and textured finish, adds interest to it, so it's a great looking piece. Comfort level is good, feel good factor is good, and as you can see the benefit of the flat exhibition case back rather than a deep bubble back case back. Had they used the automatic version of the SW288-1, either the 1A or the 1B as I've detailed, that would have meant a bubble back case back. This would be 13 and far too thick. You can see the benefit, it's got low profile flanks to the case, and the brushed satin finishing to the bezel complements the brushed satin finishing to the flanks and the tops of the lugs. They've made the correct decision here, because had they mirror polished the flanks and the bezel, it would be too shiny like a dress piece. By brushed satin finishing the bezel, the top of the lugs and the flanks, it gives it a more daily piece aesthetic rather than a dress piece. So I like it. I like the brushed satin finishing, nice fine grain finish to the satin finishing, beautiful luster to it. So let's continue discussing the movement. So SW200-1M is the manual wind version. It has 18 joules. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. 41 hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable. Hand winding, and also has hacking, which works well. 29.5 day moon phase complication, and we also have a date complication which is driven off the moon phase complication. Stated accuracy is plus or minus 7 seconds per day, which is good. This one has been very well regulated, and I want to give due credit to Moon Watches here, because they're clearly regulating the caliber SW288-1Ms they're using in 5 positions to attain chronometer accuracy. This one, although the stated accuracy is plus or minus 7, this one is running consistently at plus 2 seconds per day when it's fully wound to its maximum 41-hour power reserve. +2 is actually within cost chronometer limits of -4 to +6. It's excellent. And that's the benefit of the SW288-1M. The architecture is based upon the SW200-1. The accuracy can be regulated to chronometer or top grade accuracy in 5 positions to -4 to +6. So although they state ±7, in reality they're doing better than that. +2 is stellar accuracy. No negatives to it whatsoever. Hand winding works well, hacking works well, moon phase complication works well, feels smooth to manually wind, and I really like it. It's the correct choice. And in terms of quality, it's equal in quality to the standard grade of SW200-1. The SW288-1M really is equal quality in terms of build quality, quality control, materials, finishing and tolerances to the SW200-1, which the architecture is based upon. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meets 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So mid-tier piece, price point is 1,440 Swiss francs, which is €1,546 respectively. I'm going to declare it excellent quality, and I'm going to declare the value as okay. The reason why I say the value is okay and not good or excellent is because it is expensive at €1,546. This does face some stiff competition from other mid-tier microbrands which are making pieces in Switzerland with Swiss-made Sellita calibers. So at 1,546, it is expensive. I would like to see MUN watches lower the price point to below 1,500. So I think the correct price point of this piece would be between 1,000 and €1,200 with a Sellita SW288-1M. I appreciate it's Swiss-made, and I appreciate the caliber is Swiss-made. That does add value to the piece, and of course the specification is strong because we've got BGW9, double dome sapphire crystal with AR, 100 meters and an exhibition caseback with sapphire crystal. So there are no cost-cutting measures. The calf leather strap is also high quality, but however, 1,546 is expensive for an SW288-1M piece with a moon phase complication. 1,000 to 1,200 I think is the correct price point. They need to lower the price in order to increase the value proposition to good or excellent. Quality is excellent throughout. No negatives to the quality control, builds quality, tolerance, materials and finishing. They are all stellar. Crown is smooth. Manual winding works well, hacking works well, 100 meters is strong specification. Quality of the finishing to the bezel, head of the piece, case back are stellar. This is high tier level finishing on a mid tier piece. So they deserve credit. They've done a very good job of the finishing, quality control. So very well executed piece. Excellent quality, value is okay. I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the MUN Orion Blue limited edition. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.